10.86, 123.
I'm Chris Novak and this is my son Adam, and this is our 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner. Prior to getting the Roadrunner, I'd had American cars since my mid-20s. Started off with a 1966 Mustang, took Studebakers a 57 Commander and a 63 Silver Hawk. For 16 years I had a 1963 Impala SS.
So I've always been around American cars, obviously, as my dad's owned them. The Impala that you mentioned, there's pictures of me and my sister hanging out the back of that at car shows and what have you, and as little kids. This is the first one that I've really heavily been involved in. Me and my dad have spent hours and hours, evenings and weekends in this garage and struggling, trying to make things work when they don't, and
We've fallen out a couple of times about different things as well.
Yeah, I've had many arguments where my dad wants to do it one way, I want to do it another way, but we've come to a compromise, and we think we've got a car now that meets both of our needs, and it's exactly what we both want.
Going down to Bournemouth for the firm I work for, I saw that this car was for sale in Essex, so I decided to go and have a look on my way back home. Went and had a look at it and said to myself, if it starts at first time, I'm going to buy it. Never had a Mopar before, never had a Plymouth before, but I'd always had the American car bug. It did start up first time, so I said to the guy, right, I'll have it. 2 weeks later, went down to Bournemouth with my wife. She didn't know anything about it. Adam didn't know anything about it. And went to a meeting, wife did a bit of shopping. Coming back home, she said, well, why are we going on the M11? I said, well, it's just a different way back than going up the M1. And then when we went onto the housing estate, she said, why are we going onto this housing estate? And then she saw the car in the guy's front garden. Then she said, please tell me that you've not bought that car that's in that garden there. I says, yeah, girl, I have, yeah, I'm sorry, I've bought it, I'm buying it. Went to see the guy, gave him the cash. We had the car initially just to drive on the street, and then we went up to York Raceway. Never been to drag race before. Went in the room what you brung, raced the car. It ran 18 second quarter mile, which we thought was absolutely brilliant. And then we met some people who were in the American Superstock group up at York Raceway, and they told me their cars were running 11 seconds, 10 second quarter miles, and we thought, oh, we need to do something to ours to get it to that standard. It is streetable and we can take it out to car shows, I can drive it on the street, etc. But we really enjoy drag racing. It's not just about the cars, it's about the people in the drag racing scene, the people you meet, the friends that you make. We've made loads of friends from all over the country who are great companions. They'll help you out if you've got a problem. It's a great family, shall we say, to be in, and one that we can't see not being in, really.
It's still got the same engine in it that when we bought the car. We then obviously wanted to make the car quicker, so the first thing we did was, we put exhaust headers on, we'd change the cylinder heads to an aluminium head, and that changed the camshaft and what have you. Some of the, shall we say, easier modifications. As far as you can get with that combination, you then we changed the camshaft again, like the second engine rebuild, up the compression. Each time we send the engine up to some friends of ours in Castleford to dyno the engine, just to make sure that it's running perfect and you know exactly what power it's making. Pretty much all that's left of that engine when we bought it 17 years ago is the block and the forged crank. Everything else has been changed over those years.
But we do realise that because of the block itself, you can only take it so far without putting on superchargers, nitrous and turbochargers, or boring the block out so it's a bigger capacity and that, which we didn't want to do. We wanted to keep it a straight 440 cubic inch block, and I think we've just about got away.
Yeah, it's external oil systems, custom carburetors, and obviously the bits that go around it, the fuel system, everything that keeps up with that engine. Well, so the engine itself now, it makes around 660 horsepower. So again, the gearbox has gone through several changes as we've slowly developed the car.
When we first got it, it was a 4-speed manual box.
That's right, yeah.
Which, it were okay, but...
It was great on the street and great to race with a 4-speed, wasn't it?
Yeah. But the time it takes to shift the gears, you're losing time in actually getting down the strip. So we were told by a lot of people, you need an automatic boxing. It
was destroying the clutch all the time as well, so it, that became counterproductive. So we made the decision to go to an automatic gearbox. So it's got a 727 torque fly gearbox, which was modified to be a reverse pattern. So it's manually shifted as well. Pretty much the best of the best in it to make it as strong as possible and shift as quick and as hard as it can. We've got billet servos in it and a billet steel front drum. More clutches than standard in it and race clutches.
A new torque converter built, don't we?
Yeah, that a custom converter put in the car, which has really livened it up and makes it launch really hard off the line. The casing's the same, the input and output shaft are the same, but everything else inside is made stronger or out of better materials. And
initially we had a fuel cell in the boot because we started thinking, oh, to go quicker we need to reduce weight. So we took the back seat out and some of the interior out and
went to fiberglass bumpers.
Fuel cell in the boot. Got rid of the fuel tank that was on it, and that worked. But then again, when we decided to do the project, as it were, to get to this stage now, we needed to put the interior back in, put the fuel tank back in, the original fuel tank back in, etc. Initially we had a pump on the outside of the fuel tank. I didn't really know how we could get around not having a fuel pump outside, but then Adam said you can get these pumps which fit into
like a submersible pump, yeah,
the fuel tank.
In building the car to how it sits now, a lot of the modifications that it's got we've tried to hide and tried to make the car look as stock as possible. For example, the fuel, like my dad just mentioned there, the fuel pump, it's, to all intents and purposes, you wouldn't know it's there. It just looks like a factory fuel tank. All the aluminium hard lines that run down the chassis legs are in the correct locations and what have you. That's the whole thing with these cars. It's not just a case of building a really powerful engine. You've got to have everything around it to support that engine, from the gearbox, the axle, the fuel system, to make it like a complete package, to make sure it all works, together. Because the car does perform really well, and it's run a best of 10.69 seconds over a quarter of a mile at 125 mile an hour. I think we had a best 60 foot of 1.49 seconds.
At Mopar Nationals, the one this year, we actually won the fastest modified production car trophy, is that right?
Yeah, so it's a class that is stock cubic inch, but you are allowed aluminium cylinder heads, and that's like this modified production category. So we won that this year, and I think, I'm not 100%, but I think we have got the...
Don't take this as gospel.
We may have the quickest 440 powered, at least full weight B body in the country, which we are really proud of. Obviously we could make the car quicker by stripping it out and reducing a lot of the weight and what have you, but that's not really how we wanted to build the car. So yeah, we're quite pleased with that, really pleased with that. The rear axle that's in the car is now a Dana 60. First on the car it had the stock 8 3/4 axle in it, which really lasted us very well for several years and
until
several seasons of drag racing.
Fateful day.
Obviously the power of the engine were creeping up and the car were getting quicker. There was one, I think Sunday, let's say, at York Raceway, we left the start line and there was just an almighty crash. The rear wheels locked up and basically the car just had to be dragged off the track. Back to what my dad was saying about the community side of things, We took the car the following day to a friend of ours, lives quite local, and within a few days found a Dana 60. We'd ordered the half shafts and the centre section for it, and we set about putting it back together, ready for, I think, a race meeting, which was the following weekend, which were great and really appreciated. So the Dana 60 that's in it now is, you know, touching wood, is bulletproof. Runs a set of 410 gears in it, which are great for drag racing. When
we got initially, the brakes were all drum brakes all the way around, and because of the weight of the car, it was a case you had to think a long way ahead before you actually started braking, because they weren't the most efficient brakes in the world, were they?
No.
Being drum brakes all around, so Adam said we can swap the front brakes to
we've got a Willwood
disc brake
setup, yeah.
Didn't you?
Yeah, so it's got Willwood discs on it now, and their calipers. Still got the stock drums at the back. The suspension, we have changed that several times, but as it currently sits, it's got Calvert Racing monoleaf springs, and their traction bars, their shock absorbers all the way around, all with a view of making the car launch as hard as possible off the start line at the drag strip. So when we first got the car was just orange with this black bonnet. We raced it like that for many years, didn't we? And then
it did look good from about 200 yards away, didn't it?
Yeah, we always knew it was a little bit rough. Slightly in the engine bay, it had just been brush painted. Same in the boot, it'd all just been brush painted black. To kind of take your eye away from the rougher parts of the car, we had the car sign written by a really talented signwriter, and he did a great job of, he put our names, so on the side of the car it said Novak and Son, with like a Roadrunner cartoon running down the front wing. Once we restored the car, much to a lot of people's disappointment, we took the sign writing off of it. A lot of people say, why on earth did you do that? It looked great. But we always had this vision that we would restore the car back to as near to factory looking as we could, but still retain those performance modifications and what have you. So the colour is Y2 Sunfire Yellow, and that's the colour that the car came out of the factory in 1969 with.
I mean, bumper wise, we had to get new ones from the States, because we did have fiberglass bumpers on when we were racing before, but when we went to do the restoration, we decided to get rid of those and put the correct metal chrome bumpers back on. People would be able to, if they wanted to pick fault with little bits and things like that. We didn't aim to get it 100% textbook correct. We knew what we wanted at the end of the day, and I think we've achieved that, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. When we decided to restore the car, we brought it in here, and obviously in a couple of days you can get the car totally stripped back to a shell.
That was dead easy.
The easy bit.
Yeah, dead easy that.
The shell went off to a friend of ours, Ash Rawson at APR Bodyworks. He blasted the shell and cut away all the rotten metal, and did a fantastic job of fitting all the new metal and making sure obviously the door gaps are absolutely spot on. But in that time when the car wasn't in here, pretty much every component that gets bolted to the car, we either, you know, took it to bits, restored it, replated it, just so that everything, when the car arrived back, was ready and in a state
to back on,
bolt straight back onto it. In terms of the bodywork, the car was quite rough when we took it to the guy that did the metal work and the paint for us. It had a lot of new metal on it, a lot of new panels,
rear quarters, new wings,
new front wings, rear quarters, all the boot floor were cut out. It really went backwards before it came forwards, but now we know that it's 100% correct and there's no rot in it. Kind of is our race car that is on the street, if you like, but looks as factory as possible. So where there's a modification that we can hide, we've hidden it, be it gauges in the interior or parts under the engine bay, wiring in the engine bay, we've incorporated all that. So there's not additional wiring in the engine bay or additional holes in the firewall.
No disrespect to them, there are people who will just pay people to do it. You know, this is the car, here's the money, just do it for me, get it done and give me back when it's done. We decided we weren't going to do that. Number one, because we couldn't afford to do that, but number two, we would rather we did it ourselves. We now know every nut and bolt and wire and on the car itself. We know there's no rot, we know there's no rust, yeah, and we know that everything has been put back as far as we're concerned correctly, and it's one of the main things. Obviously, it's safe to drive. It can go through an MOT. That's one of the things that my wife and probably Adam's wife we're a little bit concerned about on the drag racing side, is that every now and again you see things crashes that happen at drag racing, and they're not very nice to see. Thank God they don't happen all that often. But even though we've been in drag racing so many years, my wife still gets so nervous, and you can see Adam in the car on the start line, and she's gripping my hand so tight, and it's not until he gets past the finish line that she sort of lets go and like a deep breath from that, and it's, you know, it's okay type of thing. But they enjoy it as well, don't they?
Yes.
And they've helped us a lot in that we've not paid them as much attention when we've been in the garage, and we spend all those hours in the garage and fixing the car, etc, etc. They know that we've got a passion for, and they've supported us doing it, which is well appreciated. And I say my granddaughter Emma, she's really into it, and she's helped us, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Really helped us. And
for me, it's like a 50-50 thing. I like driving the car, I like racing the car, but probably the other 50% I like working on the car, and I really enjoy, you know, the understanding how something works and taking it apart and making it better or making it look better. So yeah, a lot of the time that we've spent in here, yeah, it's been like a labour of love, if you like, that. And I've enjoyed it. You know, me and my dad, we've been in here hours on end and just get on and do it. You know, I've enjoyed spending time with my dad doing it. Really, it's, yeah, you can't buy that, can you? So
can't put a price on it. Definitely not. No, can't put a price on it. Initially, we got it. It got two fiberglass bucket seats in the front. The guy put in that I bought it off, and which we used for a long time, didn't we?
Well, to the point that we restored it. Yeah, they stayed in there. It always had a back seat in.
Always had a back
which
seat.
were ripped. It looked a right mess. Then we took the back seat out as we were on this journey, if you like, to make the car as quick as possible. And then when we chose to restore the car, I was lucky to get hold of a set of factory frames for the front seats, just the frames, but knowing that you can buy all the foam kits and the covers and what have you, took that task on, and never done anything like that in the past, no upholstery work.
We weren't upholstered at all, were we?
But we were, I think, pleasantly surprised with the results that we achieved, because following YouTube videos and what have you, like you do, trimmed the interior, we put the headliner in it, which obviously you talk to people and that's quite a daunting task.
Lot of people said, look, oh, headliners, oh no, I said, oh don't, oh please no. And it went in quite easy, didn't it?
So obviously inside the car there's a roll bar in it, which is mandatory for the speeds that the car runs over the 1/4 mile. So that caused some problems trying to get the headliner between the roll bar and the roof. But yeah, we managed, and it came out a really good end result. With the roll bar itself, we've tried to, obviously you can't get away from it, it's there, but we've tried to hide it as best as possible, if you like, and do it in a way that we can still get the factory armrests on the door. The central section behind the two seats is removable, so
people can still get in the
you can
back
still
seat.
use the car. The dashboard and the instrument cluster were completely taken apart and rewired, repainted. With these you're able to we're able to like basically wire the dash up and the instrument cluster on a bench, and then it literally just plugs in, if you like, as you fit the dash into the car. Incorporate a couple of non-standard altimeter gauges in there, which took those completely apart, and just so you've just got the needle to clean the interior up really, and reduce the number of gauges that are on show. The AM/FM radio still works, which I think a lot of them probably don't.
That's the original radio, yeah.
So yeah, that's doing well for 53 years. It's still working.
A very funny story, well, not funny story, but one that I'll not forget, is that, as Adam mentioned, when we got the car, a 4-speed manual car, and we changed over to an automatic gearbox, went drag racing up at York Raceway. Adam's driving, and he sets off, and he got probably 30 yards down the track, and the car just screeched to a halt.
Locked all 4 wheels up.
Locked all 4 wheels up, smoke coming out, and I thought, Christ, what the bloody hell's happened? Something's gone wrong. And then he set off again and just started off and went to the end of the track. And he came back, I said, Adam, I said, what? And he said, I'd got it in me, I couldn't get out of my head, the 4-speed manual. And he said, when I went to change from first to second on the automatic box, I'm still thinking of putting the clutch in, and I put my foot hard on the brake.
Thinking I'm smashing my foot on the clutch pedal, I just locked all 4 wheels up, which obviously is embarrassing when you do it that first time, but then...
And there's loads of people watching.
Everyone's watching, yeah. But
and so we said, that's what you've done, don't do it again.
Put it behind you, but then
so he went
second time came round and again...
It went out again and did it again, didn't you?
So, that... yeah, a bit embarrassing, but never managed to do that again.
Thank goodness.
Another memorable story, and one that we'd probably like to forget, is bought a 1969 A108 van, which really looked great.
Proper period van, weren't it?
Period van, and we thought, this is amazing. You know, we've got a 1969 van towing a 1969 car. So we loaded the car up across at my house. As we joined the motorway, things
going down the slip road.
So, you know, gathering speed as you do down the slip road to maybe get to 40 mile an hour, and just joined the motorway. And at that point, the whole lot just wagging from
trailer
side to side.
From side to side.
As I'm sat in the driver's seat, I could see each side of the car, from that wing mirror to that wing mirror. The front of the van were being pulled one way, then another. So, but fortunately, the motorway were quite quiet as we were going from the inside lane to the outside lane several times. But then, obviously, I don't know if someone were looking down on us or what. But
I was proper scared. Honestly, it was one of them moments where you think, this is not going to end well. And what can I say? What the last words can I say to my son? You know, before anything really bad happened.
I mean, it was probably close. If the trailer would have gone over, it'd have maybe pulled the van over as well, and it'd have been carnage. But yeah, that was something that, again, I think we've just been railroaded into how cool it looked, you know, all together, and the idea behind it.
We didn't think it through, did we?
The practicality of it maybe were not so great. Obviously, the reason behind it was the car was much heavier than the van that was towing it, and as I say, like the tail was wagging the dog, and it certainly was that morning, because it was quite scary.
Regarding anything being difficult with the car, I can't see that we've had real difficulties. There's been things happen that we have had to overcome. It's a case of, there's never been anything where we've said, that's it, forget it, we're going to, no, not doing it anymore, sell it, get rid, and etc.
You said that several times.
Well, yeah, I might have said it several times, but I didn't really, when I calmed down, when you calmed me down, right, and said, look, Dad, this is how we're going to get around it, this is how we're going to fix it, right?
Take a step back and
I took some deep breaths and calmed down a little bit, and then I said, well, yeah, I can see what you mean now, right then.
Yeah, there's always someone that's done it before, and someone's had that same problem. So, in the friends that we've made through drag racing, and there's always someone that's had that same problem, or someone that's got the tool you need, or can help out, and that's what's really great, because everyone helps each other out, and
It's not been easy. Sometimes it's been a hard slog, especially when we were both working and you come home, you have something to eat, and then you come into the garage and you're working till 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. You tend to think, is it worth it? Is it worth putting all these hours in? And looking back, yes, it was definitely worth putting the hours in. Unfortunately, I know it does attract the boy racer element. No disrespect to them, everybody to their own, etc. The boy race element, especially if you're on a dual carriageway and you come to traffic lights and you're sat there waiting, and then a young lad in a car will come up to the side of you, and you don't look at them, number one, but you can hear it, and then they'll start revving their car, revving the engine, and you think, oh God, no, I don't really, no, I don't really want to do this. And then you look at them and they're going, go on, like, and you thought, all right, okay. So you just wait, and then you get the green light comes on the track, and then you just floor it, and all you see is their car in your rear view mirror. And you think, how far away do I have to get before they realise that this is faster than their car, type of thing. I've said to a lot of people, if you drive a V8 car, if you drive a V8 American car, chances are you'll be bit, the same as I was in my mid-20s, you'll be bit by the American car V8 bug. And it's something that it is so enjoyable. It is something really, really to enjoy. We're a member of the Traditional Car Club of Doncaster. They have an end of season show, and there are about 40 cars there. But I was really proper pleased to win that, because there were some really top class cars there. The owners have put a lot of work in, like we have, but to win something like that were really, really special. But drag racing, I mean,
yeah, won
loads at York.
It won several rounds of
Loads
racing,
of
and I think one year we won the championship at York. This last year we competed for the first time in an event called Door Slammers at Santa Pod. We got to the quarterfinals in that, which for us were quite an achievement, in that we were racing cars that are much quicker and have got more like electronic aids and what have you in the cars, where what this hasn't, so we were quite pleased with that.
As I said before, we didn't build the car to be a trophy winner. If we get a trophy awarded for drag racing, for a car show, whatever, that's a bonus. That shows that other people apart from us appreciate what we've done and what we've put into the car. Yeah, that's we love the car. I think the car loves us. I hope it does. It's a big, it is a big family thing, yeah, hopefully we'll enjoy it for a lot longer.